My name is Don Aberle. I work for Titan Machinery. Been here for about 21 years in various roles. Current role is Senior Manager for Used Equipment and Inside Sales with a little international sales stuff thrown in there. Titan Machinery, I believe we're a little bit over 90 locations now. There was a Harlan acquisition, the Marks Machinery, Jaycox. There's a recent acquisition with Pioneer equipment out of Idaho. Acquisitions is part of the vision. I think right now I don't want to put a number of employees, but let's just say there's over 90 locations in the USA. I think there's 30 plus locations in Europe. Titan Machinery's main focus, as it has been since Dave Meyer started, has been serving that customer. How can we serve that customer well? How do we take care of the employees? How do I keep everybody safe? The three basic principles of Titan Machinery you just think back of how it all started and where we're at now. And it's still the three main things. Servicing that customer, making sure they're happy, making sure the employees are well taken care of, and keeping everybody safe. Everything else has kind of fallen in or has been a product of those three main principles. The supply chain issues, getting equipment on time, allocations. I think we might look back at this time and say to ourselves, allocation and supply chain issues was a good thing, because as dealers, if we have equipment, we're going to sell it. And then we're going to bring in too much used. So I think in hindsight, we might look back at this time and say it was a good thing that we had some supply chain issues. Current struggle, still a little bit of the supply chain thing, getting the proper allocations. Manufacturers, I think are still struggling with meeting most of the demand. But a thing that I failed to mention is just the price increases and staying on top of the used values. Keep doing what you've always done. Customer relations, farm visits, communicate. We don't control the pricing. The manufacturers do. Supply and demand does. The old game of smoke and mirrors of saying the value's X and then over allowing for the trade. It just doesn't exist anymore. Here's the price of the new. Here's how much I can get for your used. Just a little bit more direct conversations, I would say, is how you pivot. On the used side, as far as values go, you constantly have to look at what your sold results were yesterday. You constantly look at supply and demand numbers. There's no exact science. Sometimes it's called the best guess. You take all the information that you can get. All the different sources, whether it's Iron Solutions or sold data, whether it's competitors. You try to grab all that data that you can, look at your trend lines, and again, make an educated guess. I think there's some brand loyalty out there. The technology sometimes forces that loyalty. If you got your planner and tractors, one set of technologies, you're not necessarily going to have a combine with a different set, right? So you're probably going to, kudos to the manufacturers. It's all the way down to the tillage now, to where all those different technologies around the entire farm, around every field, goes through one cloud, if you want to call it that. So that loyalty, I think, is kind of driven a bit through the technology aspect of it. Overall, I don't necessarily think that there's more loyalty from the customers. The customers are getting younger. Used to be more loyal in the past, but nowadays the farming is such a big business. It just comes down to dollars and cents. What best serves my business what's going to give me the most opportunity for most margins from our farm. And hopefully that dealership is in my hometown, but it comes down to dollars and cents and what, rather than color so much as it used to be in the past. Again, the hesitation comes on the technology front. I think there's always hesitation to switch colors. The decision is made easier when it's just pure dollars, what gives me the most bang for my farm. I'm not saying there's no hesitation, because it's a pain in the butt learning new technology. And that's why we stick with what we have, habit, if you want to call it that. On the red side, and even other colors, I think more and more now, customer A, if you want to call it that, they've come to buy in, they've come to accept, hey, I need to get something, I need to buy something. I'm not going to get it for a year. I'm not going to get it for 14 months. I'm not going to get it for 8 months. For dealers' point of view, especially on the red side, Deere, maybe the green side is a little bit farther ahead, but putting that value on that used piece that is not available till 12 months from now. And one of the comments we're going to talk about today is options on a unit. I always stress supply and demand, but that drastically can change in 12 months, 18 months. What option is hot today might possibly change, in 12 months. So a little bit of challenge on the used side. One thing that we give Iron Solutions, IronGuide, just the whole team credit for is just the interactions with the dealers. The willingness to pivot, the willingness to take feedback and make changes. We went through a stretch to where we didn't use your values. It's either it was too far ahead or too far behind. But yes, over the last few years, more and more accurate, faster pivot on Iron Solutions side. And I just can't stress again the willingness to take feedback from the dealers, and not just take the feedback, but to actually execute on it. It is probably the most impressive thing that I've seen with Iron Solutions over the last few years. I just firmly believe, the dollars are so large. This industry is pretty small. Yes, we're all competitors, but the more that we all not start from the same place, but so the values are not so vastly different from one dealer to the next. Get a little bit more consistency, a little bit better flow of equipment, limit our risk as far as aged inventory, those type of things. And whether it's green, red, the yellow guys, the orange guys, you got to have a consistent tool across all brands, all colors. There's never just one source. We use multiple sources, with the primary driving factor of our used equipment values being our sold results. And we do adjust, for options. We do adjust just like with Iron Solutions. But why we did that exercise is because I used multiple tools, and I just wanted to see which one would be closer to our cash values or to our sold results, and maybe change a perception that my team had in our mind about Iron Solutions. And we did. The team hated it because it was a lot of extra work for a month, how they had to keep track of everything, but we did it on every single one. And we were surprised at the end of where Iron Solutions ended up as far as ranking goes. It depends on category, but if you use the average overall, you were within 1%. If you start breaking it down by categories, I would say about 1.5, 1.7% better. When it came to tractors, combines, you're about dead even. Sprayers, a little bit behind. But overall, when you take the balers, mower conditioners, all the different categories we did, Your market value was what our cash value was. Give a lot of credit to John and the people that work with him. I mean, it's vastly different than it was years ago. We do between 1,500 to 2,100 evaluations per month to give you a sense of the size of the sample base. It was quite a few units. That subset that we did was a little bit over $60 million. So yeah, now take that times over 12 months. Again, Iron Solutions is from the standpoint of the hourly variances, the model year variances. We are heavily dependent upon you guys in terms of the options values. That is another thing that you guys changed dramatically, was the option value and the declining nature of that option value as the unit gets older. Rather than using that value from the first subset and having that same value, after the model's 3 years old. 1% to 0.5%. When you deal with the number of stores that we deal with and the volume that the Titan Sales Nation sells and trades in on a yearly basis, yeah, it can be pretty substantial. Our great IT department, a guy named Luke, a guy named Alex, part of IT, but specifically working on this report. You guys will get our reports daily rather than monthly. One of the important things for me from the red equipment side is we know that you have kind of an over-reliance on the green side because you're so connected with Machine Finder Pro. So you getting all those green data points on a daily basis. And we all know data curves or sways towards what has the most data points, right? Well, I need for the industry, for the red dealers across the country, we need you guys to have more red data points, more active basis. One of the reasons we're working so hard on it, why it's important to me, is so that you guys get those data points daily. You guys are in the data business. If you're putting out bad data, it hurts you. Again, one of the things that I will compliment Iron Solutions on is that commitment to that data, that care factor to the results. Again, maybe it wasn't as deep as it needed to be before, but I know it is now. And it's reflective. I've done that test that we were talking about earlier. I've done that test numerous times over the last 5-6 years. When we were making that initial decision of what direction we were going to go with our evaluation process, I mean, we dug deep. So I guess what I'm trying to convey there is the experience from what it was 4 or 5 years ago to what it is now. And it has been it's been an improvement. It sets you guys apart. Without naming names, I mean, there's one service, I mean, it's just data points across the USA. You can go in and select certain states for sure, but your guidebooks, we know what part of the country we are in, and we know the sold data points in our part of the country is going to be different than, say, down south. So it would be wrong for me to use data points from down south or out on the West Coast when it's a different market, different set of customers, different values per se. So yes, I think it sets you apart. If you take a 2022 compared to a 2021, and there's some models that has a $40,000, $50,000 variance year to year. Our number one rule, and again, it's not a bad thing, but the entire eval team, they all know what the number one rule is. Never believe anything that anybody tells us when it comes to the model year. That customer, let's just say, sometimes doesn't know, sometimes mistakenly says, the year. That salesperson that's out in the truck that is busy trying to take care of multiple things, he might take the customer's word for a whole factor of reasons. The number one job for us on the eval team is to verify the model year, because it can have such a consequence to the general ledger if you bought it with the wrong model year. So yes, very important. And again, it is so important to us that Iron Solutions is the first place. Our business sold system, second place, but we make damn sure the serial number is correct. We won't even do an evaluation unless the serial number is correct. We need a picture of it. It's habit now. You got to have a picture of the serial number. Iron Solutions is our first place that we go to verify serial number. It's not like I have tons of green data. It's not like I have tons of Caterpillar or tons of AGCO. I mean, having outside sources, including relationships with those other dealers, is critical. I can speak from the last few years is top notch.
Iron Solutions has been providing ag equipment valuation data and serving the agriculture industry in North America for over 80 years. Thank you for watching, and please click the circle above so you can subscribe and never miss out on the latest info.